write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. My name is Prestige with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. EZ BlueZ, you're better at introductions more than me. Who do we have this day on behind the brand?
You know, it was the great LL Cool J that first brought out the line, when I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call. Now, initially, this song is a love song. But for many of us, we actually sit alone in that room. We feel that there's nobody around that can help us. It is that loneliness that can drive us to a point where we don't necessarily want to be here anymore. We have spent many years running from mental health. And after coming through this pandemic, it has really been something that has been truly highlighted. We have seen it through social media, whether it be people's sheer honesty through TikTok or all those different aspects. You know, we have all lost dear friends to mental health issues. And it really is, it's an epidemic bigger than a pandemic, if we're being honest. And at the end of the day, we need more people like the person we have here today, who is able to really put the focus on the story itself, put the focus on how important each individual person is and how unique their stories are. That is the most important thing. To know that we are never alone and to normalize talking when we don't feel right is quite possibly the most important thing out there. And for that, I know that I'm usually very loud and exuberant with these intros, but I really wanted to just get to know the person here. So I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving, please keep them at 10 and 2, because, you know, we're driving, but put your hands together for the amazing Suzi Craig from Mental Health CT. I had the honor and privilege of working with Mental Health CT with Full Blast Booking for the Tour for Life last year when we did the Bridgeport Festival. Absolutely amazing organization, and it's an honor to be here 2 days before Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's Arbor Day too, so we should be planting trees, which is going to help increase the oxygen, which is also going to make us feel a little bit better. So go out right now and go plant a tree on Arbor Day, and then, you know, we'll get on that incredible mental health journey. Suzi, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dustin. I'm really excited to be here. You were the first conversation we're having about what we're doing for Mental Health Awareness Month, so I'm excited to get into that. But just generally, I love talking with other folks who are great champions for, you know, let's take mental health out of the clouds, because sometimes even that term can make people feel a little wiggy, and just, you know, getting to know each other, connecting with one another, supporting each other, finding ways to really be there for each other. And, you know, when we talk about it like that, that's something I think everyone needs, whether you're living with a mental health diagnosis or not, right? So I'm just really excited that I have the opportunity to meet you guys and have this conversation.
Well, and that's what's really interesting is what took you from, we'll say, you know, the normal corporate life into getting involved in a not-for-profit. And again, look, like not-for-profit is exactly what those terms mean there. You know, you are everything that this corporation, you know, brings together goes right back into helping people. You know, that's very different from, you know, the capitalistic society in which we are raised in. What made you make that transition? If you don't mind sharing. Any part of your story you're willing to share it with us. Anything that's a little bit too much. Sometimes, you know, we get a little trauma dumpy. It can happen. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a safe spot.
I'm an open book, so happy to share anything and everything. I have a long, windy career that started in book publishing in New York City, and I was also a reporter for the Hartford Courant, and I've been a ghostwriter and I've been a marketing person in many different iterations. And then I really got into helping organizations with strategic planning and helping them design a future that they wanted to live into. So I landed at Mental Health Connecticut with that in mind. I had never been in the mental health field before, so this opportunity landed in my lap, and I was really excited about it because personally, you know, I have a lot of stuff going on with myself and my family. So it's a personal thing for me, as it is for a lot of people at MHC. But you know, I think what I wanted to do was work for an organization that was not, and I hate to say this because it's going to feel a little negative, but was not a charity, but was actually an organization that was doing the work on multiple levels and moving the ball forward, especially in mental health. There's a lot of different camps and theories about, you know, how to get at supporting people who live with a diagnosis or living with trauma, living with all these experiences. And this organization is about meeting people where they're at, helping them give the tools so that they can thrive, so that they can take on their own health and wellness. And, you know, even though we're primarily state funded, government funded, we say that it's like our best day when someone doesn't need us anymore, because we've done our job to help them so that they can help themselves. And then they're in the community and doing whatever they need to do. Either they're back at work or they're going back to school, they've reconnected with their families or living on their own. Whatever it is that they needed, they have. And it's not like we like to see them go because we love our people, but we want to see them, you know, launch back into a place where they're getting what they need, but they know how to get that. They know how to do all those things. So we're taking that ideology and that philosophy and we're expanding that out in a bunch of different really exciting ways through a workplace wellness initiative, through a lot of initiatives around arts and wellness, which I think, you know, you at that event with Tour for Life, we had Amy Smith, our art director there. She was doing a community art project. Like, there are all sorts of ways into your health, and it doesn't have to be, you know, the quote unquote traditional pathways only to get at your mental health. So I hope we're getting there to do a good job to have that conversation about, you know, just how mental health is health, and there are just a bunch of different ways to get at it. So there's more I can share, but I'm not sure where you want to go.
Oh no, look, we're loving every aspect of it, and we're going to chime in. We're you know, look, this is an extremely important topic, and we really love what you guys do. Obviously, we're going to jump in and throw a little spin here and a little spin there, and do what we need to do and dress it up, and it'll be all sorts of fantastic. But the information you're sharing is golden. I really dig the fact that you know, mental health is health. I think that is a phrase that not a lot of people truly understand and respect. And mental health has gotten such, I guess, just a bad rap for like ever. You know, especially like when you look at like pop culture and different things like that. You know, some of the best movies, you know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is such like the abuse of you know, mental health patients. You know, and you see this, and it becomes part of the forefront. And then, you know, and people are like, oh, well, that was just a book, but that actually happened in the 80s. You know, I actually worked for an MR and MS school. I was a therapeutic music specialist for a little while, and we had a couple of that original you know, classes, students there, and we had different rules for them. Like, we had to make sure that they went out with us into Walmart and different things like that, because so much of their life was stolen from them because they were locked away, because for the longest time it was just easier to lock it away. And this isn't just like what you know, usually people talk about in a family, as per, you have an emotion, you lock that away, you push it down as far as humanly possible, you know, and tomorrow you evaluate if that emotion is workable. If not, push it down again. This is like actually being locked away. So when you're now in a field that is coming about it from, that love and that care aspect, what is it like to still deal with the stigma of, it being a terrifying industry?
Such a great question. And my mind is going towards, taking you guys on a little bit of a journey, a little bit of a history.
I'm a fan. We like journeys.
Yeah. So here's some things that I've learned in 6 short years of working in this industry. So Mental Health Connecticut has been around for 113 years, and we were started by a guy named Clifford Beers, who was a New Haven guy. He went to Yale grad. He actually did grow up in Yale. He grew up somewhere like Stamford, Greenwich area. But so imagine early 1900s, young professional. He, he was working in a young professional career, very well-to-do family, lots of brothers and sisters. He has a psychotic break, and he finds himself in one of the state hospitals, and then another state hospital, and then another state hospital. And so he moves around from state hospital to state hospital. And at some point in these experiences, which at that time, as you can imagine, and obviously we kind of know this, and then there's mounds and mounds of documentation about how people were treated. And also, side note, the list of things that you could be institutionalized for includes hysteria, women experiencing, menopause, like pick your list, right? Like if there was something that a family didn't know what to do with and you were experiencing, or if you didn't have family and you were experiencing something in the public eye, that's where you landed. So, but he was a very well-to-do guy, clearly experiencing something, with his brain that wasn't working right. Somewhere along the way, he decided that there had to be a different way. So he found his way to taking on his own health and wellness. And he wrote a book called A Mind That Heals Itself. And then he started Mental Health Connecticut, and it was started as an advocacy organization. It was started as an organization to just focus on the fact that there could be a different way. And so the word recovery comes from all of that work. He's considered the grandfather of recovery, essentially. The word recovery is rooted in the fact that it's not a death sentence if you're living with something that doesn't feel, quote unquote, normal in the mental health arena. It is something that you can live with, and it is something that, potentially you can heal from in some way, shape, or form. There's nothing wrong with you per se. It's just something that you have to, like any health issue, you have to take on and address it in a different way, right? So he started Mental Health Connecticut, and then a year later, he started Mental Health America. We like to say we're the alpha chapter because we were started first. Yep. And so ever since then, this organization has been growing, changing, evolving, responding, expanding. At some point we shifted from being an advocacy organization to doing direct service. So we have residential, housing programs in 6 areas of the state. We have statewide programs. We have community education. We have a whole mess of things that we do. But, that was 113 years ago, right? That all of that happened. Feels like a long time. I can tell you that the stigma is still so embedded, and almost, I don't want to say in a worse way, it's different now, but so it's an undercurrent. It's there whether you see it or not. Stigma leads to discrimination, so you can see it come to life in that form, of course, but it kind of just has its claws in everything. I did a tour once of Connecticut Valley Hospital. I don't think they do them anymore, but in Connecticut Valley Hospital in Middletown, which is the only state-run psychiatric hospital in Connecticut, Hartford Hospital obviously has its own as well, but this is the one that's only, for mental health. So when you go on the grounds of this place, there's a bowling alley. There are buildings that haven't been used for decades, but they still have the old devices of restraints and all sorts of terrible things in them, right? So the grounds of this place is like a snapshot in time. I don't know why someone's not doing a movie in this place. What part of the tour was just showing just how it was a walled city, like everything was encompassed. They had their own farms, they had their own reservoir, like the staff lived on the grounds. But the thing that I walked away from that tour being so stunned about was the cemetery. So when people passed away, they were buried on the grounds, but all of the tombstones had numbers. They did not have the family names on them.
Oh, man.
Now, this has since been course corrected. They have this massive monument there with, number 32 is, right? John Smith, number 33 is whoever. So they've course corrected it. They had to spend years going through records and documentation to make sure that they had the right numbers match with the right people. And sometimes they didn't get everyone. But I mean, talk about a stunning visualization of just how deep stigma runs. I think that just says it to me. Yeah. And, you think we're in a time when that wouldn't happen. And I think something to that degree wouldn't happen, but I feel like the invisibility is still there. Like the othering is still there. Like it's still there, which prevents people from raising their hand and saying, hey, I think something's wrong. I should go get help.
Yeah, no, and that's and for the listener at home, if you don't think that's true, I can honestly tell you that that's 100% true. I prolonged getting help for as long as humanly possible because we are even raised in a society that that asking for help is being vulnerable, and being vulnerable is being weak, and being weak means you have failed. That is very much how we have all been raised. But when you get to the other side of that, and then I've done it through different forms of actually Eastern philosophy, where you really can take a look at true strength comes from vulnerability. And it also comes from the building of a community. As much as there's some terrifying things that happened at that place, it also warmed my heart because that they had their own farm. And to me, I would hope that they were teaching the people there to farm and to be self-sufficient and different things like that. That's how that's the hope stuff that I'm gonna pull away from there. I'm sure I'm possibly wrong, but that's what I'm gonna need to sleep at night tonight. When we are fighting these different stigmas, and there's a lot of it, because even as a society we have glorified a bunch. I mean, I've talked about it 1.5 million times. I thought to be, I didn't just want to be a musician. I wanted to be one of the best. One of the best, you had to be in the 27 club. On my 28th birthday, I looked at myself as a failure. That's how damaged we are really in society when we're shining more of a light and not talking about the tragedies behind, some of these incredible, creatives and, the pain that's really there. I've been on this journey of, trying to find people's point of original hurt, because we feel that, if you can get to know that, then you can understand the person, and you can understand where that pain and that fear really comes from, because a lot of their hatreds come from a point of fear. So it's just really interesting. How are you still walking in, that dichotomy? Like, because, and we'll say it, you got two dudes here, so we're obviously
two dudes on WNHHLP 103.5 FM. My name Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building behind the brand. We got Mental Health CT with us. Go ahead, Easy.
Man, you're so smooth. That was great. I love it. Yeah. So walking that dichotomy, and again, guys are somewhat, we stay away from it more. We are programmed to be a certain way, and what is it like, kind of combating social norms as well? Because again, as you talked before, mental health initially, and these homes that they put people into and different things like that were for the things that were different. And, guys didn't talk about their feelings. They got drunk and came home and beat things, like that was normal. We are obviously 100% wrong. Don't do that. Please, if you're doing that, get help. You can contact us. We'll hook you up. But like, what is it like kind of trying to combat that, trying to walk through that aspect? Because it's really difficult. Like, from a dude's point of view, it is extremely difficult, and if it wasn't for like losing Alex, a couple of years ago, I don't know if I would have been ready to take those steps forward. What do you, because we obviously didn't talk before then, because you would have changed my mind and things would have been fine. I know this, but what would you tell someone like me 3 years ago, when, I thought it was okay to just constantly be beating myself up inside my own head?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I want to say though, I love your terminology. Original, would you say that a hurt, an original point in time?
Yeah, original point of hurt.
Original point of hurt. That's a pretty amazing phrase, because what that says to me is that was in a moment in time that needs to be honored and understood, and also running in parallel. And also, it's a moment in time that doesn't need to define you. I mean, that's what I got out of what you were saying, which is,
Well, and it's interesting because I think I talked about it a couple of shows ago, but that actually stems from my church had a conference, and I had somebody staying with me who was very Islamophobic. And I'm not, like, I walk around with an inshallah hat on in Arabic, and we would have many conversations. And I found out the reason why his original point of hurt was he's a math teacher. He was teaching math in Afghanistan. His school got bombed, and the insurgents went in there, and he had to hide under his desk and, pray that he was going to live. That's a very real moment. And, we had to sit and honor that moment and try to talk from that moment. Because any other thing was just going to be an argument that neither one of us were going to win, because I couldn't see the pain and he couldn't see the promise.
Yeah.
So, we had to kind of build from that point. And that's kind of where the idea of this original point of hurt, which could be, being raised that these certain type of people are trying to steal this from you, and that's the original point of hurt. And when we can understand that, then we can understand each other, just a little bit more. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. But again, this is the evolved me. I'm talking about the three years ago me, when I wasn't so evolved. I was a lot more angry. What would you encourage for the guys out there that, your the dudes you play basketball with on Wednesday, although the majority of them are probably going to therapy, they're going to bust your chops because you went to therapy. You know what I mean? How do you have that conversation? Because that it's a real thing.
That's a big one. It's a big one, and I appreciate you bringing it up. And also, just so folks know, I'm not a therapist. I don't work in the direct care staff, right? Like, I'm on the other side of the house, so I know just enough to be dangerous. But one thing I will say, MHC, we actually, at this point in time, we have more men in our programs than women. And a lot of the individuals that are in our programs and folks that we serve have, really had the heck kicked out of them, right? They've they started out in and out of foster care, right? So, or the criminal justice system, or, there's, some deep trauma experiences, things that they've been through in and out of, psychiatric inpatient systems, addiction, like just name your thing. There's layers and layers and layers and layers, lots of homelessness, like lots of people experiencing being unhoused. We have a huge program to support getting folks on a path to housing, which is so critical. So we have a lot of guys, and there's a lot to unpack there. And I think it doesn't matter what gender you are, although there are some specific things, everything you mentioned is just the expectations coming out of the chute, when you're born male, is, and I can see it in my own family and other families, is, well, you gotta suck it up, you gotta pull up your bootstraps, you gotta show up in a certain way for X, Y, and Z, right? That's just part of being in a patriarchal culture, I think. So I certainly can't tell you what it feels like to be, to be male in this society, for sure. I think that whoever you are, if one of the best things that we can do is education and awareness, right? And that's a lot of what we do through community education, which is giving people the tools to identify the difference between a bad day and something that, oh, this is something I really need to pay attention to, right? Because there is a difference. And I think the more we talk about it, the more, we normalize the fact that, men have feelings too, and they're going through stuff, and it's okay to let them say what that is. There's a really great story that Brene Brown, I don't know if you know Brene Brown, she shares about being at a conference, and mostly women in the conference. She's speaking to the women, and this guy came up after her, said, he's like, you're speaking to a lot of women, but like, I got some stuff going on. like, how are you going to help me? And it kind of blew her away, and it helped kind of redefine her work from that point forward. Because what he was saying is like, yeah, the women say they want me to be more, vulnerable and approachable and like, emotional. But then when I do that, they don't know how to deal with it. And I've had that experience. So that's the place I can actually speak from, is like when a guy is vulnerable with me, my first reaction is like, oh my God, what do I do with this? Like, this is weird and awkward. And like, and I've had that just personally outside of work. Like I've just had that personal experience. I don't know if you've had that experience where you've tried to do that and the women in your life don't know what to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, I think the best way that we could really highlight this, where it's still something that is so forefront, right? There's single parents of both, of all genders, right? There's single parents of every single thing out there, right? There is 1.5 million different groups and organizations that are there to help a single mom. There's groups out there you can sit and you can talk to. Don't show up there as a single father, because you're not going to be liked.
Yeah.
And you're not welcome. Because you symbolize the thing that they don't like. And you have to somewhat understand that. But it's so like, I remember being out in CT, with the kids the first couple of years, and not having like any type of service, to really help in those type of things, or, to give whatever. And then the other side of that was, if the kids went to school clean for, 4 days in a row, it was, hey, great job. You're doing so good. No, that's not realistic either. You know, like they're supposed to be clean. Like don't give me an extra, gold medal for the things I'm supposed to be doing, but hey, maybe give me a little assistance so that I can accomplish everything that I need. I really think that there's a big need for that. And I would love to figure out some type of way to get, single fathers' voices heard a lot more, and to get some services for that. So anybody who's listening right now, they want to get involved with that, feel free to hit Preston up. He'll take care of all that kind of stuff.
Most definitely.
And also, I was going to say also stay-at-home dads, dads that are taking on, the younger dads are jumping in and taking on more of the responsibility but there has to be a level, you mentioned community. To me, that's what it's all about. For them to feel like they're a part or have connection with other dads, I'm sure must be critical, I know a few that don't know what the heck they're doing, but they're doing it.
Yeah. And you have no clue what you're doing, but you continue to go by like the seat of your pants, and you do have those moments of awkwardness, because I can even imagine for like the stay-at-home dads when they go to the park, we got all the mom groups sitting there together, and there you're sitting there with like your iced coffee, and a couple of people are looking at you like, why are you here? Do I need to call like the security guard over to here or you're staring at kids? Like, no, it's my kid. Like, I too am a parent. I have every right to be here as well. Why? It creates a complex. This is another point of original hurt that I've been through. I'm just saying. There's only so many times you can talk to a security guard and try to explain that they're your kids. No.
Suzi.
Yes, sir.
I know I had to step aside for a little bit, unfortunately. I apologize, but I don't know if you got to this topic yet in the interview. Personally, just for me, how hard is it just to find someone to talk your issues about? Because that can be very challenging. You're talking to a complete different stranger, you know what I'm saying, what goes to your problems mentally. You ever got asked that question, just being in the position you're in?
But how hard is it to find services?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard, and I would say there's a step even before finding services. The step of understanding how to navigate the quote unquote system and just knowing where to start is something that I see over and over again. Where do I even start? So even if you're thinking about it, a lot of people keep putting it off. I even did that. Like I've been meaning to go to a therapist since before pandemic times.
Right.
And I kept putting it off, and I'm in the field, but because it's like the thought of like, I guess I gotta go through my EAP and call my insurance company, or I gotta Google therapists, or like, I guess I can download an app, or like, it's like actually stressful thinking about finding someone to talk to, So I think this state needs to do a better job, and we try to do that a little bit, but it's as far as I'm concerned, that's on the state of Connecticut.
Right.
And also, bring it home to your backyard, like wherever you live. And now I'm speaking directly to the audience. Wherever you live, start in your town first. Every town, hopefully even the small ones, have a social worker. They are the ones that know the services, in your backyard. That being said, there are other, statewide services where you can start as well. There's 211, which is an information line. Mental Health Connecticut has our own information and referral line, and I can give you that information so you can share that out when you share this out. And the reason why I like to promote ours, it's free, it's no cost or anything. But we do it because it is so hard to navigate the system in Connecticut. So it's not 24/7, but when you call and talk to someone and you explain what you're looking for, you're looking for a support group, a therapist, maybe you need something to support addiction, like whatever it is. We have a human that will help you. We'll ask all the questions, what's your insurance? Where do you live? Where are you at in this process? What have you tried before? All of those things, right? We spend a good amount of time just kind of getting through where you're at. And then we come back around with suggestions. And then we follow up to see how it went, right? Because that's the other thing too. It's like, this was going to take you a couple iterations. It's not a one phone call and done kind of thing,
Right.
So we hold your hand through the process, which is really, really, really important, because the process is stressful. Not just the fact that like you need to get somewhere with it. The process is really stressful. So we try to remove the stress out of going through it and help just people feel okay for taking that first step for making the phone call. So there's a lot of layers of even just finding service, and you have to get yourself to the point where you're ready to go through that process, and I'm sorry to everyone in Connecticut that it's such a painful process. We got to do a better job, and that's Mental Health Connecticut and everybody in Connecticut. We need to do a better job. I always wanted to fund like this massive PSA campaign,
right?
And with some like major infographic of like, here's the way in to like get help, but nobody has the money to do that right now. So
It's a money thing. Gotcha.
Well, it is and it isn't. It's a money thing, but then because there is federal funding and all sorts of funding that, the governor and the legislators are working on the budget right now as we speak. I'm also the registered lobbyist for MHC, so I work a lot on legislative stuff. So there's funding. It's just a matter of appetite and coordination and all that kind of good stuff. Because the thing about Connecticut is we have services. They're there. It's finding them. It's and we definitely need to fund more of them, but it's finding them and getting to the right thing in person. And I actually have the second appointment with my therapist on Monday. It took me a while to get to one that I clicked with, that was like a good fit for me, that like, oh, I can really get to work with this person. But I went through a couple iterations. That's the other piece about it too. It's like, it's unfortunately work.
And it seems like a lot of work has to get done.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Easy. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Dustin.
No, I was gonna say it's so interesting because, again, some people's like mental health issues have to do with like a distrust of bureaucracy, and so now you're having to face their fears without the social network to help support them through it, just to get their foot in the door to accomplish that social network. Like I don't think, and maybe this is the first time government officials will hear this, so I will say it the way that it needs to be said. I don't think they realize the obstacle that truly is in the way for someone who really needs that type of help. They can't get out of their own way. This is, for those who've been following whatever, like I just had back surgery and different things like that, and I've been honest about the entire process, to the point where the day before I almost was not able to have the surgery that I've been waiting 8 months for because of bureaucracy. Now, if that could happen for a spinal injury, something that's physical, something you could see that I'm suffering with, can you imagine, especially someone who is an entertainer, who, you would never have known that they had that moment of darkness, like Anthony Bourdain, that now you put all these extra obstacles in their way.
Yeah.
How is that the solution?
Like, well, you're both speaking to, I think the good news is that where the direction of healthcare, and that's a big term, but where it's going is, and we've been doing actually a lot of reading and researching around cultural mistrust, because that's a thing. Academically, that's been researched for years, that cultural mistrust can be at the basis for preventing people from moving forward with their health in any way, in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of where things are going are the social determinants of health, which is really like the conditions around, you know, what supports a human and how they're able to identify those barriers and move forward. So community health workers you're going to hear a lot about that term, because that is a huge role that's going to help in healthcare. And that is similar to what we do, a lot of like meeting people where they're at, people that speak multiple languages, people that are from that community, so they don't look like somebody else coming from the outside, it's someone from the inside. You know, all of those things are really important. There has to be more representation in healthcare. There just has to be, for people to you know, be able to do this together. So all of those things are where things are going. It's where Mental Health Connecticut is going. I mean, in our vision statement, we talk about the condition of being human, and that's where we start everything. Because a person will come to us with all sorts of paperwork and all the things that we've been talking about, from, you know, the trauma they've experienced to a diagnosis, all sorts of labels. They're on this medication, they've been through this treatment, et cetera, et cetera. So they come with all stacks of paperwork. And so, yes, of course, we consider that when we're working with someone and helping them build a recovery plan and all that kind of stuff. But the first thing we do is look at the human, and we look at that human and we build that connection and we build that trust with the human that we're looking at, because they're a human and they're coming to us.
That sounds like this show on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. My name Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building on Behind the Brand. Suzi Craig from Mental Health CTS. Sorry I didn't lose your train of thought there. I had to do what I had to do.
No, that was smooth. You're really smooth.
Thank you.
So I mean, that's where we start everything from, and we wanted that in our vision for ourselves. And that's the check-in for ourselves. Are we engaging with this person and seeing them, you know, as a person first? You know, how are we making decisions? How are we talking to them? How are we creating space so that they can show up, you know, as a fully amazing version of themselves? And this is why we have multiple pathways. The other thing I want to talk about is, you know, we say treatment. There's multiple pathways to strengthen that connection with yourself. You know, that's why we have an arts program. We have an amazing writing program. We have an amazing gardening program. We're going into music and movement because people need pathways and doorways. You know, they need pathways to process things. And the arts are a phenomenal way to do that, and incredibly effective at helping people to move along in their recovery and their health journey. So.
Wow, that's definitely a lot to take. Easy, you still with us?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Just give me a second.
Gotcha. I'm sorry about that, buddy. So I just got it. I don't know.
No worries.
Usually with this whole technology thing, if something comes off and then I'm like the operator of it, I get a little panic attack. So I got some old PTSD myself. Zoom can definitely give you some little bit of mental health issues.
No doubt.
That's all I'm saying. But Suzi, I'm really happy that you're here with us. I'm happy that we're getting all this knowledge here on the show. Tell me about some of your work with children.
Well, actually, before we get into that, because we are in the final segment.
We are.
And there is this amazing thing. The whole reason that we are here today in 2 days is May 1st, which is the start of Mental Health Awareness Month.
That's right.
Now, again, it shouldn't just be a month. Let's be real, but it's a month. We'll take what we can get. Now, you guys are doing something really, really interesting. And I love the fact that you started out talking about, before you even really look at the paperwork, you talk about, you know, the human. Because I think that is the perfect way to set up talking about this new campaign you guys are going to be running.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that awesome segue. This is my first interview, my first conversation to help launch this thing. It's taken a big lift from my team, who are amazing. So what we are doing is a campaign called Let's Face It. And
Okay.
at the beginning of this conversation, we talked a lot about stigma and helping people to face things that they're experiencing. And that's what this is all about. So we found 31 people from different corners of Connecticut who are going to share their story, or I should say a slice of their story, and how some experience has impacted their health directly. So some experience in stigma or discrimination, how that has actually affected their health and wellness, their well-being, which I think is where it intersects that we need to talk about more. So
Right.
I can't tell you who's in the campaign because we're doing a big reveal where each day of the campaign, you're going to meet somebody new. So, and Dustin has agreed to be a part of our camp, which is amazing. So I'm so
Awesome.
excited that he's a part of it. But I will tell you, there'll be all different kinds of looking faces and different stories and just completely different experiences. Not necessarily the doorway is in through, you know, I live with a mental health diagnosis. It's all sorts of different doorways into it. So our hope is that what we can show is that everyone is experiencing something, and what we need to do is come together, connect with one another, share these stories, and open the door for someone else to see that, like, it's okay for me to share what I'm going through, and it's okay for me to find help, and it's okay for me to talk to somebody. And what I want is, I want it, and obviously it's just 31 people, but 31 people is a good amount of people, to be able to inspire others to really talk about this stuff and move forward. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. So what's cool about it is we send everyone to get professional headshots. So like the look of the campaign is going to be like off the hook. And you know, we have our, the creator of our writing program did the interviews with folks, and so the stories are going to be pretty phenomenal. So thank you for helping us to promote that, you guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No, of course. Like, and that's the thing is, it's such a big aspect when Kenny Mercer from Full Bath Booking told me that you guys were doing it. I automatically sent in thing like, oh, I got you. What do you need? Because I know for a fact that people that look like me don't necessarily go and get the help that that's needed. And if you look statistically, people that look like me need that help a lot. Where you have some of these incredible tragedies that happen because people are not getting the help necessary, or they feel that they don't deserve to get that help. And it's a twisted thing. You can, inside your own head, you can both feel like you are Superman and unstoppable, and that 11-year-old chubby kid on the playground that can't get all the way across the monkey bars and will forever be ridiculed and not allowed to sit at the cool lunch table. And to sit there and try to understand what it's like living in the balance of that. There was a phenomenal comedian, Christopher Titus, who would talk about the voice in his head that came from his father being very abrupt and somewhat abusive. Once he left his father's house, he called it the inner idiot, who would sit there and yell at him anytime he was trying to get oh, look what I've accomplished. Oh, you're going to mess that up now too, real soon. So it doesn't really matter. And it's something that is very real. And more people need to understand that it's very real. And it's okay to talk to somebody about that. It's okay because, one, you might find out that they too have that same inner voice. And maybe those inner voices can be friends and they can leave you guys alone. That's fine, or it's just to know that it's okay. Now, unfortunately, we've got the Apollo curtain getting called on us right now. This has been an amazing discussion, but we want to give this last moment 100% to you. How can people get in touch with MHC, and and how can they be able to really tune in to this campaign you've got coming?
Yeah, so Mental Health Connecticut, you can find us at mhconn.org. Or even if you search Mental Health Connecticut in Google, we come up usually like at least the second or third one. And right on our homepage is that link to the information and referral line. And when we launch the campaign on May 1st, you'll have, right on the homepage, you'll be able to get to all of it. But then you can get us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're not on TikTok yet. I don't even know what to do with TikTok. But our campaign will be all over social. So we're Mental Health CT. So at Mental Health CT and all those platforms as well. And just one quick shout out to Kenny Mercer. You mentioned Kenny Mercer. He's one of my favorite people in this entire universe. He has been doing this Tour for Life. We're trying to over and over again to do this amazing, music festival to support mental health. And he is a huge champion. So we love Kenny Mercer. He's amazing.
We do too. We love him a lot.
Suzi, thank you so much for being a part of the program. We definitely do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate being here.
Definitely. Prestige, Easy Blues, behind the brand on WNHH LP 103.5 FM, New Haven.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted blue. I don't know if that's really you. I wanna go outside. I wanna go outside.
So many folks I've had to ghost, negative ones the most. The seconds wasted, never returned. I'm spaceship dreaming of landing home. I'm not alone.
Even though we all die, the one thing I fear is time. The seconds, the seconds, the seconds, the seconds, the seconds, the seconds.